Welcome back to another live stream with the Casual Athlete. Right now, we're going through the top halfbacks in the game. We're going to make this one quick and fiery because both of us want to go watch Survivor ASAP. So, Miles, let's jump right in. We're doing every position so far, and we're starting right off with Adam Reynolds. I want to know your opinion of this guy.
Reynolds, solid bloke for many years at the Rabbitohs, and last year kind of changed the fortunes of Brisbane a lot. I think he came in and offered, a bit of structure, which is what they were lacking a lot in, seasons 2020 and 2021. So for me, though, he's an A-tier halfback and is still playing at that kind of level and still kicks goals really well at a pretty high clip. So A-tier for me. I don't know what you're thinking, but A-tier?
I love Reynolds at A-tier.
Yep.
Just a quick thing to add, like he was going to the Broncos, and the way he's transformed that team and their attack and their culture, and he's not the only guy doing it, has been crazy. So he really moved up my rankings personally last year in those performances. Next guy up, we got Ben Hunt. He was the highest 40-20 kicker in the game last year by a big margin. So he had 6. Next best was 3. He's won Daly M's. He's been around the rep game. He can play hooker as well. Just has struggled a bit in terms of, I guess, club level success after that Broncos performance. For me, still though, he is top of the A tier as of the list right now.
Yeah, better than Reynolds, and not quite at the top of the league, although went very close to winning the Dally M last year. So he's still got, a lot of talent. He just plays for the Dragons as well, and I think he's the only reason they weren't really considered a bottom team last year. He kind of held them out of the dungeon. But yeah, A tier is good for me. If you want to go ahead and put him up there, because next up is my man, Chatty Daddy. Chad Townsend changed the fortunes again. Another guy who's kind of come in and changed the fortunes, similar to Adam Reynolds. With Chad Townsend at the Cowboys last year, he kind of brought in a very big captaincy role that was kind of thrust upon him, and he took it with open arms, as the level-headed veteran, and played his position to a T. Don't really see him being as good as, these guys up top, with Hunt and Reynolds at this point in time, but he's a B player for me.
Totally agree. Again, he's another one that moved up my ranks as well last year. I thought he was a dud signing for the price, and he egg on my face. You get him wrong sometimes, so he's awesome. So we had a few guys moving up the ranks so far. Cherry-Evans is up next, and for me, he's a guy that's slipping down a bit. He lost his hold in the Australia jersey. He's had some very good performances for Queensland. That keeps him up for me. But for Manly, when Turbo's out, he doesn't prove himself as a sort of superstar the way like other guys in that top tier do. So I think Cherry-Evans was in a lot of people's S tier previously. For me, he's in the A tier. I might even choose him behind Hunt and Reynolds. I just really like those two guys. Where do you have Cherry?
I think it's tough with Cherry-Evans because been a great player for a long time, still playing at pretty high level, but with Manly just falling off an absolute cliff last year, a lot of that has to come back to Cherry-Evans and, the way he can get that team, up for each game because he's the captain, right? And I know it's tough without Tom Trbojevic, but he tries to shoulder a bit too much of the load and tends to, when they lose, not really take that much responsibility for it. So, just slipping down the last few years, and I would have him ahead of Reynolds, but that's me at this point in time.
Yeah, I can pay that. I think probably represented performances. Reynolds hasn't really done that.
And the Maroons won this year too, and he was the captain of that. So I've got to give that to him. Fogerty's up next. Your boy, your Canberra boy, Fogerty. I think you've got a little bit of bias when it comes to Fogerty. What are your thoughts?
I love Fogerty. He was around Parramatta for a bit too. I really liked him then as well. He's just a good player. He's got a good running game. He engages the line. He's solid enough on defense. Great kicking game. Canberra were lost before he came in, and they were on fire down the stretch. They beat the Storm in the finals as well. Like, Jack Whiten is the most pure number 6 going around, and Fogerty just showed himself as a total brilliant choice, brilliant buy to unlock Whiten. The kind of guy the Dogs need, actually. They would love a guy like Fogerty.
Yeah,
So
100% with Burton. Yeah, I can see
exactly.
that.
For me, though, Fogerty is, I would say, the bottom of the B tier. I just think the impact he had on Canberra, he's been good for the Titans. He debuted later in life, but I really like him. So I'm going to go B tier. I could understand if you said top of C tier. But
yeah, look, I think he's behind Chad, just based on body of work. And he got kind of a late start to his career, being a reserve grader for quite a long time. But yeah, it was really part of the big surge of Canberra, towards that finals appearance that they had. So for me, he's got to be behind Chad for the moment. And I think we can see if we can move him down at a later point in the video.
Let's keep him at B. We've got a comment about Nico Hynes here as well. So we'll jump right across to Nico Hynes. Man had a sensational performance with the Indigenous All-Stars, and he was a big part of the reason why they won that game as well. Hynes, he was so doubted coming out of Melbourne. He had half a season at fullback for Melbourne, and then Cronulla paid him pretty big bucks to come across. And some people thought he'd be trash. Other people thought he'd be gold. I thought he'd be good, but he's been so much better than anyone expected. Is he in the A tier yet? Is he in the S tier for you? B tier? There's a lot of debate about Hynes.
Hynes, you got to put him ahead of the bloke that he beat for Daly M last year. So that's Ben Hunt. It then becomes a conversation: is he the best halfback in the game? For me, no, not yet. Not yet would be the caveat that I would put on there. He's
TV.
Phenomenal. He's a phenomenal player. Yeah, I'm telling Atola TV that I don't have him as the best player in the game, like best halfback in the game, but he's very close to the top. Ahead of Ben Hunt, please.
For me, I'm going to say A tier. tier. And if we just were doing club performances, I might go S tier. But actually, I would go S tier for club performances. Even then, though, he hasn't done anything in a finals game as a halfback. They won one game. They sort of went out. But he hasn't done much at the rep level either. I mean, this Indigenous All-Stars game was his first thing. But yeah, it's not like he's been picked for the Blues as they're 14 and coming on and doing something, or he could slide up, but he's just so good at club level, but he's capped because he hasn't had the finals.
And at times last year, just put the Sharks on his back. I know they've got a very strong team outside of him, and they're building, quite a reputation down there, especially with Coach Fitzgibbon. I'm really interested to see what they do, but yeah, Hynesy, he's just got to be A tier for the moment.
Yeah. Hastings next, and I think Hastings is a little overrated, personally.
Agreed.
He's had some really good performances, and he went hard for the Tigers, but he had an unlucky injury. He's sort of been out of the league a bit. He's a good player. He's a good player. He'd be good with Ponga, but he's probably at that bottom end of the B tier, maybe top end of the C tier for mine as of today.
Had huge raps as a young kid, didn't he? It's tough because I think the Tigers would have liked to keep him, but due to how big Brooks's contract is to move, they decided to go for a bit of a sideways pivot and move Jackson Hastings on instead. And Hastings showed a couple of games last year where he, really took control of the team, really provided a couple of good wins to the Tigers, much needed wins, and then finished the season with an ankle injury. So it's tough with his 1 year back in the league where to put him. But for me, it's got to be close to that DC range, like maybe bottom of C.
Oh, wow. I'm thinking top of C, bottom of B. I think he's okay. Well, we'll put him in the C tier for now, and we'll see who comes up. How about that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jahrome Hughes, next guy up. Jahrome Hughes, he's had some great performances for New Zealand. He statistically is more important to Melbourne than Munster. I don't think he's better than Munster, but when he's out, they go worse than when Munster's out. So something to consider. Good defender, pretty good kicking game. He's he was an ex-fullback, and he's developed a lot
Yeah,
as a half over the years.
the
For
transition.
mine, he's in that A tier, possibly behind Ben Hunt, ahead of Cherry-Evans is where I got him.
Yeah, I would have said A tier, and just based on the importance he is to the team.
Yep.
Yeah, at this point in time, he's better than DCE and Adam Reynolds. Not to slight those guys in any way; they're very good players, but yeah, with Jahrome Hughes, he's just too important to Melbourne. Flanagan is up next. Kyle Flanagan. Saw him on
I'd love
display
to
this
see him keep on,
afternoon.
man.
Yeah,
Would love
yeah,
to see him
he's
keep on.
I'm not sure whether he's made that number 7 spot at the Dogs his own just quite yet. It's coming along better than what he did at some other clubs, and it's tough with Kyle because I think a lot of the blame got put on him at the Roosters. He had to deal with a lot of that. Then he had to deal with Trent Barrett saying that he wasn't good enough, and he really only had, I guess, the last 15, 16 rounds of last year to show that he deserved that 7 spot. But again, I don't think really, put the lock and key on it. So as far as a player amongst these guys, it's looking very grim for him at the moment. I'm thinking C, maybe top of D. I don't know. That might be harsh, but yeah, I think he's worse than Jackson Hastings.
He's D tier. He's point blank D tier. Hastings is, if I was choosing between Hastings and Flanagan, I'd choose Hastings 10 times and then maybe not choose anyone after that. Like he was battling with Wakeham, he was battling with Avarillo. Like he's got potential and he had some great performances for the Chooks, but as of today, D tier for sure. We have to have some guys in the D tier, and it's a bit of a different list to our winger rankings.
And he's one of them.
Look how full the A tier is, though. Like,
yeah, there's some quality halfbacks in our game at the moment.
Really good. The only thing holding them back is Cleary when we get to him. But look, next guy, Lachlan Ilias. My view is that he's better than Flanagan, worse than Hastings. Showed something at the end of last season where he sort of kicked on a bit. Still for mine, though, he was getting hooked last year. He was looking not that confident for most of the season. I would not be shocked if he's in that C tier this year, but as of today, D tier, and it's not even up to consideration for me.
Yeah, it's tough. He played for Greece as well. I like that he undertook that, and it gave him a chance to, I guess, play football outside of what was such a stressful situation for him at the Rabbitohs. I think that going from Adam Reynolds to Lachlan Ilias, it's some pretty big shoes to fill considering how well Adam Reynolds played for them, and they still did pretty well. They got to the second week of the finals again.
Good. Yeah. Where have you got him there? D tier?
Yeah, he's just not better than Hastings. I can't put myself to putting him in C tier. It's just not. It wouldn't be right. Brooksy, Luke Brooks is up next.
He's S tier for pay. It's a hard one with Brooks. Brooks is good. I just think he's a pretty good player. Again, another one where if the Dogs had Brooks, they'd be pretty happy. And there's places where he could do well. He could do well this year, but it remains known that it's been 10 years. He hasn't played in the finals. He's been inconsistent. He's had some great games, some really bad games. He's in that C tier for me because he's better than those D tier guys. And he's probably
better than Hastings
for me. Yeah, that's controversial, man. People don't agree with that.
Yeah, look, I think Tim Sheens, if he was watching this, would be pretty upset again, that we're ragging on Luke Brooks. But I'm sorry, Tim, it's warranted. I think, if you're a Tigers fan, you're just kind of sick of seeing this bloke's face wearing that number 7 for your club. And I would have liked to see them move him to a new club because I think he needed to change.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how it goes this year because he's still there. He hasn't really had the best start to this year. He's got an injury as well, so he won't be suiting up round 1. It's tough to say where Brooks is going to And as you said, in the past, could have been A, could have been B, but right now he's a C.
Yep. Luke Keary. He was pushing that top of the A area for a while there. Just concussions, and him and Sam Walker have struggled as a combo. I personally reckon like they both play a little bit too
Similar.
six. Yeah, they're both sixes. I mean, they could win the comp this year, and everyone will be saying it's top of the A tier. But I just think I'm looking at that A tier. I think he's just behind those guys. I think at this stage of his career, he's in the B tier.
Yeah, he's better than Chad Townsend. As much as that pains me to say, he's better than Chad and has definitely got the body of work there. 2 straight premierships. You can't take that away from him. Another third
as well.
Yeah. Played for Ireland. Yeah, undertook that. I think he needed a bit more footy under his belt just based on the injuries that he'd had. So, yeah, taking that on was, I think, a positive for him. And, yeah, I would like to see his relationship develop with Sam Walker, but right now it's just not as good as the guys in A tier.
Yeah. So next guy up here, Mitch Moses.
The man from Christ the King, Mitch Moses.
So part of me wants to go S tier, Mitch Moses. But Mitch is phenomenal. Great running game, underrated defender, one of the best kicking games in the comp, topped the competition for try assists last year, topped the competition for try assists off kicks. Just a genuine leader for Parramatta. But if you want to go to the S tier, I need to see representative performances and I need to see finals performances. And he's had good games in finals, but, we've got a great forward pack. We've got a pretty solid back line. He needs to win a comp or somehow get into the Origin team to get into the S tier. So for me, he's in the A tier. And for me, it's probably just behind Ben Hunt, I would say.
Yeah. And I think when he signs with the Tigers, you'll put him in the D tier. Anyway, but...
I'm going to remove you from the stream, mate.
Yeah, Mitch is an interesting bloke. Used to go MIA quite a lot in his early days. Wasn't a good defender, but also, had, as you said, had tackle of the year last year. I couldn't believe that. Mitch Moses made tackle of the year. But yeah, he's just as good as those guys up there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's very important to Parramatta winning. Like when you look at it from a perspective, when he has an injury, your next up is Jake Arthur, and it's like, well, shit. Like,
is he better than Ben Hunt then? Because, like, for me, he's better than Ben Hunt at the club level.
Yeah, because I would say
more as a rep player, and Ben Hunt, he's been in the grand finals a lot too. We can't forget that.
Still yet to win one, both of them. So I just think if we're going off body of work over the last few years, I thought Ben Hunt had a good resurgence year last year. Moses has been pretty good for the last 4 or 5 years.
Let's go Moses ahead of Hunt.
Yeah, I don't think he's better than Hynes at the moment, though.
Hynes was on another level last year.
Transcendent.
Yeah, look, they could swap between. Like, they're both sort of in similar spots. Hynes has the benefit of being a bit earlier in his career. Nathan Cleary, we don't even need to talk about this. He's in the S tier. He's in the S tier by himself, unless Tanner Boyd makes him with him or something. he's just a lone man, like just a freak.
He needs to stand alone in that S tier for me. Maybe some people on the live stream might not be happy about that, and maybe some people might not like Penrith that much, but this guy is the best player in the game at the moment, in my opinion. Just shows up each and every week. Yeah. It's just an absolute beast as far as playing the halfback position goes. And I don't think we've seen someone dominate games as much as this guy has in the last few years, since maybe Andrew Johns played the game, and that's a big call.
3 guys left here. Let's smash them out pretty quick. We're going to take turns. We'll take turns, and we'll just one of us give the spot, the other one just agree or disagree. Yeah. O'Sullivan first. He was top 15 in try assists last year, which is great. Or top 20, something like that. So he's pretty crafty. He's got a good running game, good kicking game. I've got him in the C tier, just behind Hastings as of today. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm keen to see him get a bit more of a solid starting role as well.
Nice. And Sean Johnson for you.
Ugh. See, out of respect more than anything, I love SJ's highlights because that's what they are. They're old highlights now, and sometimes when I go back to YouTube, the years of since those highlights are going up. So,
oh, dude, if I'm ranking my favorite players on this list, Sean Johnson is S tier. He's S tier by himself. Sean Johnson, like, we both love Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson, Nines highlights and Sean Johnson, Warriors highlights, even his Cronulla highlights. Like, he just seems like a legendary guy too. But back into the career, I think he has a lot to teach young Luke Metcalf. He's a quick guy as well, so you probably learn a lot from Sean. Hoping they start Metcalf alongside Sean this year. But no, he's a beast. And then, but he was a beast. He's sliding back now. And the last guy, Tanner Boyd, is interesting.
Yeah.
He's on a lot of people's fantasy radars because he was pretty good when he started. In this list, I've got him behind O'Sullivan and ahead of Sean Johnson.
Yeah, agreed. One thing about Tanner Boyd is he played a lot of representative football at the junior levels of the game. So he's got that to kind of live up to now. And hopefully he can get that starting role and play alongside Foran, and the Titans can have a better year than they had last year. So, because it was abysmal last year.
He's fighting a few other guys.
Sexton.
There,
Sexton. It's a mixture between Sexton, Foran, and Brimson.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So that's our halfback rankings. We got Cleary up the top. We got 6 guys in the A tier. You could swap those guys around as much as you wanted to. Really strong B tier, quite a strong C tier even, and then D tier there. Let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Who would you swap? What video do you want to see next? And what do you want us to rank next? We're thinking probably 5/8, and then maybe rank the NRL mascots on how they play footy. Okay, that's the end of the stream. So I'm just going to do that awkward thing where I end the stream.